Hello students, this is P.V.C.K.SUBHASHINI, Senior Lecturer in Mechanical Engineering, Kuli Qutub Shah Government Polytechnic, Hyderabad. As you all know, I am dealing with Industrial Management and Entrepreneurship subject. So in the last class we have learned about different types of store equipments, different types of store records to be maintained, duties of storekeeper, responsibilities of storekeeper, location of stores, and layout of stores. Now, today, I want to just recap what all we have learned in the last class. First one is the different types of store equipments. Since the stores department has to handle an enormous varieties of materials, extensive range of store equipments has become a necessity in modern times. Steel storage equipment is more satisfactory and renders better service than the wooden one. Steel equipments are more durable, stronger, easier to clean, and more or less fireproof as compared to wooden equipments. It is rather impossible for rats, mice, white ants, etc. to have their approach up to the materials kept in steel almirahs, and if they are closed ones, they become vermin proof as well. Various storage equipments used in the stores for storing different items are discussed below. Open type removable bins. Materials like MS bowls, nuts, washers, etc. are stored in boxes known as bins. These boxes are kept on the tables with the code numbers duly marked on the tables. Generally, these open bins are placed near the entrance of the stores as the material stored in them is frequently used. Stock racks with drawer inserts. It is a big almirah with number of drawers. Small and costly items which do not move too frequently are stored in these drawers. The code numbers are written on the almirah and as well as on the individual drawers. Racks for stocks and heavy materials. These are open racks with a provision to store heavy material and spare parts, steel pipes, etc. Viaduct storage for heavy boxes. These are open type shelves generally made with viaduct. These are used for storing any heavy boxes, packing material, etc. Next one is the stocking racks for bins. These are generally used for arranging a number of bins on a rack. Each bin may be hanged up to a bin cart to know the details of material in the bin. Racks for bars and pipes. These are open racks meant for accommodating heavy rods and pipes of different sizes. It constitutes a stand with arms to remove the stock bar. Heavy section bars are placed in the bottom part while the lighter bars are kept in the upper portion. So next comes the then in the last class we have discussed another topic, different types of store records. In order to maintain efficient record of stores, the following books and records will be required and these are maintained separately for different type of materials. Inward and outward registers. When the material is dispatched by the supplier through the rail, he will send its receipt received by the railway authority called RR. On the production of that receipt on railway, material can be received. A separate register is maintained by storekeeper in which daily entries of RR received are made and known as inward register. In the same way, when some material goes out of the store to some other place, entries of RR are made by storekeeper in outward register and that RR is sent to the customer by the production of which he can take the material from railways. Stock register. Dead stock or non-consumable register. This is maintained by storekeeper in which entries of non-consumable articles such as all machinery, equipment, furniture, etc. are made. Consumable register. In this storekeeper maintains record of consumable stores received such as coke, diesel, oil, kerosene, petrol, lubricants, cotton waste, paints, etc. Daily receipt register. This may be in a register or loose leaf form. Whenever any material comes into the store, it is entered data-wise in the daily receipt register. Material is then inspected and if suitable and if found suitable is entered in stock register. If the material is found defective, it will be rejected and either the material or its report will be sent to the supplier. The incidental charges that are incurred will also be noted in daily receipt register. Issue register. This may be in a register or loose leaf form. All stores issued or entered date-wise in it by storekeeper. From the receipt and issue register, store register is prepared. Ledger is prepared by account section. Store ledger. It is a detailed record of the receipt and issue of materials with respect of quality, quantity, and value of all the items kept in store. A separate sheet or card is maintained for each article. It contains the name, description, bill number, etc. It records the receipts, issues, and balances in hand of each and every article at the time of physical verification. Verifying officer after inspection gives his recommendations in the remarks column. So then comes the surplus stock register. Sometimes such purchases are made which do not come in use for a long time, say 3 years. Such materials are then declared surplus and recorded in a separate register called surplus stock register. Thus, unnecessary material is removed from the stock register to facilitate easy handling. Suspense register. The defective item or items received in excess should not be placed in the bins but in the suspense cell and are entered in suspense register. Condemned article register. Unserviceable material, either use unserviceable material after use or obsolete material which is authorized to be condemned by authorized persons is entered in this register and will be shown as stock until disposed of. Loan register. Sometimes non-consumable materials are issued from store on loan for temporary period by producing a slip of authority. By issuing, material is entered in this register and signature of the bearer are taken in the register and slip of authority is kept safe. When the material comes back, slip is written and entry of material received back is made in loan register. Empty containers and package register. The record of empty containers and packages are kept in this register by the storekeeper. They should be disposed of at convenient intervals by auction or otherwise to the best of advantage. The above mentioned all the various records which must be kept by any storekeeper for easy and smooth handling of the stores. Next comes the duties of the storekeeper. So to identify all the items of stock and plan the store for optimum utilization of the cubic space, to receive all types of materials, goods and equipment, including manufactured products in the factory and record them with a cost, correct positioning of all materials and supplies in the stores, to maintain stock safely in good condition by taking all precautions to ensure that they do not suffer from damage, theft and deterioration, to issue items to the users only on the receipt of authorized stores requisitions, to record and update and issue of materials, to check the bin card balances with the physical quantities in the bins, to make sure that the stores are kept clean and in good order, to prevent the unauthorized persons from entering the stores, to inform the purchase department whenever the existing stock of any item is likely to be exhausted for its purchase, to coordinate and cooperate with the purchasing, manufacturing, inspection, PPC departments. So, location of the stores. While locating the stores, the size of the industry to which it is attached is taken into account, and other factors consider the bulk of material that arrives to the stores and the amount of material to be handled during issues to various shops daily. Stores may be located as centralized and decentralized stores. So, centralized stores in small factories, it is desirable to centralize the materials so that they may be brought under the control of one storekeeper, and the storeroom should be nearer to the place where the material is to be used. If there are several manufacturing departments, the storeroom will be conveniently situated where it is nearer to all the departments. Decentralized stores. In large factories where there are several departments, each using a different type of materials, it becomes beneficial to separate the stores. This type is known as the decentralized stores. And lastly, in the last class, we have discussed about the layout of stores. After deciding on the degree of centralization of storage areas, blocking out subgroupings of materials carefully determine the relative locations of each area. There remains the detailed layout of storeroom space. The internal arrangement of a store's depot is known as layout. The efficiency of storekeeping depends upon how and in what way the internal arrangement is planned. A good layout aims at maximum utilization of the available space, greater efficiency of the store's depot, easier accessibility, maximum security of all materials carried and records maintained, greater economy and use of lesser time in receipt, movement, placement and issue of materials, minimization of spoilage, damage and other kind of losses. Now, today we are going to study about bin card, Cardex method, functions of purchase department, methods of purchasing, and purchasing procedure. This is a bin rack. So now, this bin card. Bin card is a card which is attached to each bin, rack, shelf, or other container for stores. A record of all the materials entering the or leaving the bin and balance of material in hand is kept in this card. These agree with the quantities of material as shown in the relevant accounts in the store's ledger. This will enable the stores to ascertain from fresh stock when the minimum stock has been reached. In some factories, duplicate bin cards are used. In such cases, one card is attached to the bin and the duplicate card is kept by the storekeeper on his table for ready reference. Bin cards are checked from time to time by the inspectors and put their initials on these cards and note down the discrepancies. Nowadays, to avoid delay in production, an ordering level or safety level is also introduced between the maximum quantity and the minimum quantity. At this ordering level, orders are placed for the purchase of material, and if by chance material is not received and minimum quantity level is reached in the stores, some attractive arrangements are urgently made. So this is about the bin card. So what we have learned from the bin card? Bin card is also known as the stock card. Bin cards are maintained for ready-made check of the stocks of material kept in bins. Bin card is attached to each bin, rack or shelf. Record of materials entering or leaving the bin and balance is written. This balance should tally with store's ledger record. When minimum stock has been reached, reminds store's keeper. This is the pro forma of PIN card. You'll be having maximum quantity, ordering quantity, and minimum quantity. On the left side, you'll be having bin number, article, code number. So stores ledger folio, date, quantity received, quantity issued, balance. Check to buy and date and signature will be there. So this is about the PIN card method. Cardex method. In large industries where the items of the stores are in thousands, occupying a very large space, it will be very difficult for the storekeeper to be thorough with the stock position. Hence, a steel almirah of Godrej, made with number of shelves, is kept very close to his seat. Each drawer containing cards in every shelf can be drawn out whenever there is a transaction. A steel almirah contains number of drawers. A drawer is shown to have been opened and the cards numbering into hundreds are shown duly arranged. On every drawer, the code numbers are marked for ready reference. An item under the series marked on the shelf can be easily located and the relevant card can easily be picked up with its serial order. So the following data is entered on the cards with each transaction. Code number of the item, its size and material particulars, maximum quantity, minimum quantity of order, list of suppliers, standard quantity to be ordered, due supply date of material, quantity received, quantity issued, balance. During these postings, if stock tends to achieve the minimum point, the purchase department is informed for fresh orders. Similarly, stock position should not go beyond maximum point. So what is about the Cardex method? Thousands of items will be present in stores of large industry. The material occupies large space. It is difficult for storekeeper to be thorough with stock position. A steel almirah with number of drawers is kept close to the storekeeper's seat. On each drawer, the code number is marked. Each drawer contains cards. Relevant card can easily be picked up with its serial number. Each transaction, the data will be entered. If the stock tends to reach minimum point or reorder level, the information will be given to the purchase department. This is the card system. Now, information available on the card. The card displays code number of items, size and material particulars, maximum quantity and minimum quantity of order, list of suppliers, standard quantity to be ordered. True supply date of material, quantity received, quantity issued, balance. What are the functions of purchase department? So, in any industry, before starting the process of production, the prime requirement is to procure raw materials, machinery, and tools to go into production and other materials required for maintenance work. In view of keen competition in the market, while purchasing these items, it should be noted that the required materials are purchased at the reasonable rates by making a thorough survey of the market with the cost of such material and its scientific use constitute about 65 to 70% of total production cost, while the remaining part, 35 to 30%, goes towards the workers. Therefore, more emphasis should be laid on the economical purchase, scientific storage of the material, and placing the purchase orders exactly at correct time. The only way of producing the articles at competitive rates in the market is to save as much as possible towards the material and the proper usage because expenditure towards the workers cannot be reduced. Therefore, maximum savings in purchase results in more profits. In small industries, the function of purchase is performed by works superintendent. But in case of large industries, a separate department known as purchase department is provided for the purchasing of materials. So what are the main objectives of purchasing department is to maintain a regular supply of materials, to ensure high productivity, to ensure a better margin of profit, to act for standardization, variety reduction and value analysis, to ensure production of a better quality production at a competitive rate, to purchase at a competitive price, that right quality and right quantity at the right time from a right source. Now we'll slowly see what are the functions of purchase department. Purchase department has to perform certain functions in order to achieve the purchasing objectives. It will maintain records of available and reliable suppliers, to prepare and update list of materials required, to place and follow purchase orders. It will maintain records of all purchases, to make sure that the right quantity quality is purchased, to act as a mediator between vendors and different departments, to purchase the material at right time at the economical rates, to ensure uninterrupted supply of materials for continuous production, to prepare purchasing budget, to make prompt payment to suppliers. So what are the functions of purchasing department? Maintains records of available and reliable suppliers and prices of materials, to prepare and update list of materials required by different departments of the organization within a specified span of time, place and follow purchase orders, maintains records of all purchases to make sure the through inspection that right kind, quantity, quality of material has been purchased, to act as a mediator between vendors and different departments of the concern such as production, quality, control, finance and maintenance, to check if the material has been purchased at a right time at economical rates, to keep an uninterrupted supply of materials so that production continues with least capital tied in inventories, to prepare purchasing budget, to ensure that prompt payments are made to the suppliers in the interest of good public relations. Next comes the methods of purchasing. The various methods of purchasing are purchasing by requirement, purchasing for a specific future period, market purchasing, speculative purchasing, contract purchasing, central purchase organization. So, purchasing by requirement. In this method, the required quantity of materials for any particular job or purchased when the job is in hand. This method is suitable for the industries having less working capital. So, what are the advantages? The market fluctuations will not affect as costing is based on the market rates. Small storage space will be required. Less inventory carrying cost. What are the disadvantages? The selling price will be higher. Profits are limited since the orders are for small quantity. Sudden demands cannot be met. Bargaining cannot be had due to small amount involved. So, what is purchasing by requirement? Purchases will be made when the job is in hand, the required quantity of material is purchased, suitable for small industries. What are the advantages? Is market fluctuations will not affect costing, small storage space, less inventory cost. What are the disadvantages? Disadvantages: the selling price will be higher, profits are limited since the orders are for small quantities, sudden demands cannot be had due to small amount involved. Next comes the purchase for a specific future period. Under this method, materials are purchased in bulk for specific future period to maintain the flow of production. The standard items which are in regular use are purchased by this method. Advantages: as the order is received, production can at once be started. The market fluctuations will not affect the small size. The involved working capital will be less. Less storage space is needed. Cost analysis is easier. What is the disadvantage is this cannot be adopted for large scale industries. What Just again, I do a recap for purchasing for a specific future period. Materials are purchased in bulk for future period. Standard items which are regular use or purchased. What are the advantages is less working capital, less storage space, and less effect of market fluctuations. The disadvantages is this cannot be adopted for large scale industries. Market purchasing. This type of purchasing generally made to take advantage of price fluctuations. Raw materials are generally purchased on this basis. When the raw materials are available at low price, they are procured in bulk quantities and to get greater margin of profit in finished goods. This is suitable in case of goods involving major fluctuations. So advantages: as purchasing is done in lot, distribution cost is less. Production will be continuous. Bargaining power will be more due to bulk purchases. Disadvantages: large space is required. If the market topples, there is big loss. Capital requirement is more. What is a market purchasing? Raw materials are purchased when available at low price, procured in bulk quantities, suitable in case of goods involving major fluctuations. What are the advantages means as purchasing is done in lots, distribution cost is less, production will be continuous, and bargaining power will be more due to bulk purchases. Disadvantages: large space is required. If the market topples, there is a big loss. Capital requirement is more. Speculative purchasing. In this method, the purchases are made not according to requirements, but they are made with a view that there will be greater demand for the product in the future. The purchases are made in excess of actual requirements. This is not a scientific method. Advantages: profits will be more if the demand increases, production will be continuous. Disadvantages: more capital is required, more storage space is required. If speculation goes wrong, then the profit on the finished product is reduced. So, what is speculative purchasing? Purchases are not made according to the requirement. Purchases are made in excess of actual requirement with a view that there will be greater demand in the future, with a view to sell the excess when the cost goes up. What the advantages is more profits with demand increases, production will be continuous. Disadvantages: more capital is required, more storage space is required. If speculation goes wrong, then the profit on the finished product is reduced. Contract purchasing. Contracts are given to the suppliers for large amounts of future requirements for a certain period, say 2 to 3 years, subject to review and cancellation with an appropriate period of notice. While calling quotations, the approximate quantity and time etc. are specified. Many concerns that use large quantity of basic materials such as pig iron, coal, coke have found it very desirable to contract the entire supply of such materials for a considerable period of time. What is contract purchasing? Firm enters into a contract at an agreed rate. Generally, the period of contract will be 2 to 3 years. Review and cancellation of contract is possible with advance notice. So, what are the advantages of contract purchasing? It avoids necessity for keeping stocks. The purchase is not allowed by market fluctuations in the supply ensure. No time is needed to be washed in calling quotations. Normally, during the period of contract, there is no change in price rate. The purchase department is relieved from the routine work. Disadvantages: the supply may not be regular as it is out of the control of production department. And dispute may arise with the supplier. Next comes the central purchase organization. Large industries or certain big government industries may have section-wise stores at different places, and each section may have a separate store. In such case, there arises a problem as to whether each store should make its own purchases or whether purchases should be made by the central stores that would go on supplying material to section-wise stores. If the local sectional stores are allowed to make its own purchases, the material may be getting very soon, but it may sometimes lead to malpractice. Hence, to avoid the margin of middleman, Central Purchase Organization makes the direct dealings with the manufacturers and distributes the material to section-wise stores. What are the advantages? A strict control and check is possible. Therefore, there will be a little chance of malpractice. It can have direct dealings with the manufacturer and can get things as per the specifications. When the demand central stores makes a purchase, it is on a large scale, naturally it can obtain a good bargain and things will be cheaper. Disadvantages: there may be a delay in getting materials from central store to the sectional stores. So, what is about the central purchasing? Large industries may have section-wise stores. Central Purchase Organization makes all purchases and distribute to section-wise stores. What are the advantages? Strict control and check is possible. Direct dealings with the manufacturers. Disadvantages are there may be delay in getting materials from the central store to the section stores. What is a purchasing? Now we are going to discuss about the topic purchasing procedure. For an industry, following purchasing procedure is generally adopted. After receiving the purchase requisitions form, exact quantity of the material to be purchased and its specification is decided. Prepare a list of suppliers who deal with the business of the articles to be purchased and are reliable. If the material to be purchased is of small amount and required urgently, it may be purchased locally. If necessary, prepare and issue NIT, means notice inviting tenders, to the concerned supplier mentioning different terms, conditions, and date of opening of tenders. Open the tenders at the prescribed time on the prescribed date. Prepare a comparative statement of the rates, terms, and conditions mentioned in the tenders and then study them. If required, samples may be received. If required, samples may be received from the firm who have quoted the lowest rates. Place the purchase order to the firm selected after the study of sample rates, terms, and other conditions mentioning the date by which the material must be received. Copy of the purchase order must be sent to the stores. The department who has sent the requisition account section and to the inspection department. A detailed inspection is carried out after the material is received. If the material is found to be satisfactory, the bill of the supply is passed and the payment is made to the firm. So, what is the procedure for purchasing? First, we'll decide the exact quantity that is required in the specifications. We'll preparing prepare a list of reliable suppliers, urgently required materials of small amount are purchased locally, invite tenders mentioning terms and conditions, date and time of opening of the orders, open the tenders at prescribed time and date, prepare a comparative statement of rates, collect samples from lowest quoted firm, place the purchase order for lowest quotation, send the purchase order copy to stores, account section, inspection department. After receiving the material, carry out the inspection. If found satisfactory, pass the bill. So, so, once again, I'll try to see what all we have covered for today and just wind up. Okay. So, today we have covered what is a PIN card, what is a Cardex method, and what is purchase department, what are the functions of purchase department, methods of purchasing, and what is the purchasing procedure. So I just make a recap in just 5 minutes, striking the very important points. Bin card is a card which is attached to each bin, rack, shelf, or other container for stores. A record of all materials entering or leaving the bin and balance of material in hand is kept in this card. These agree with the quantities of material as shown in the relevant account in the store's ledger. This will enable the storekeeper to ascertain the quantity of many material in stock and remind him to acquisition from fresh stock when the minimum stock has been reached. In some factories, duplicate bin cards are used. In such cases, one card is attached to the bin and the duplicate card is kept by the storekeeper on his table for ready reference. Bin cards are checked from time to time by the inspectors and they put their initials on these cards and note down the discrepancies. Nowadays, to avoid delay in production, an ordering level or safety level is also introduced between the maximum quantity and minimum quantity. At this ordering level, orders are placed for the purchase of material, and if by chance is not received and minimum quantity is reached in the stores, some attractive arrangements are urgently made. Cardex method in large industries where the items of the stores are in thousands, occupying a very large space, it will be very difficult for the storekeeper to be thorough with the stock position. Hence, a steel almirah Godrej made with number of shelves is kept very close to the seat. Each drawer containing cards in every shelf can be drawn out whenever there is a transaction. A steel almirah containing number of drawers in a drawer is shown to have opened and the cards numbering into hundreds are shown duly arranged. On every drawer, the code numbers are marked for ready reference. Any item under the series marked on the shelf can easily be located and the relevant card can be easily picked with a serial order. Next comes the purchase management. In any industry, before starting of production, the primary requirements is to procure raw materials, machinery, tools that go into the production, raw materials required for the maintenance work. In view of keen competitive in the market, while purchasing these items, it should be noted that required materials are purchased at the reasonable rates, making a thorough survey of the market. So for that, we require a purchase department. In small industries, the function of purchase is performed by work superintendent, but in large industries, a separate department known as purchase department is provided by the purchasing material. Then I have covered objectives of purchasing department: to maintain regular flow of materials, to purchase at competitive price, to ensure high productivity, to ensure the production of a better quality production, to act for standardization, to ensure better margin of profits. Next comes to the functions of purchase department. This I have told. So we'll have a small recap of that. First, it will we have purchase department maintains record of available and reliable suppliers to prepare and update the list of materials required by different departments, place and follow purchase orders, maintains record of all purchases to make sure that inspection that right kind, quantity and quality of material has been purchased, to act as a mediator between vendors and different departments of the concern, to check if the material has been purchased at right time at economical rates, to keep an uninterrupted supply of material so that the production continues with least capital, to prepare purchasing budget, to ensure that prompt payments are made to the suppliers in the interest of good public relations. Next, the last topic I have covered is methods of purchasing. So there are various methods of purchasing in which purchasing by requirement, purchasing for a specific future period, market purchasing, speculative purchasing, contract purchasing, central purchase organization. Purchasing by requirements. In this method, the required quantity of materials for any particular job are purchased when the job is in hand. This method is suitable for industries having less working capital. What are the advantages are? Market fluctuations will not affect and small storage space will be required. Less inventory carrying cost. Disadvantages. The selling price will be higher. The profits are limited since the orders are not for smaller quantities. Sudden demands cannot be met. Bargaining cannot be had due to small amount involved. Purchasing for a specific future period. Under this method, the materials are purchased in bulk for specific future period to maintain the flow of production. The standard items which are in regular use are purchased by this method. Advantages. As the order is received, production can at once be started. Market fluctuations will not affect a small size. The involved working capital will be less. Less storage space is needed. Cost analysis is easier. Disadvantage. This cannot be adopted for large scale industries. Market purchasing. This type of purchasing is generally made to take advantage of price fluctuations. Raw materials are generally purchased on this basis. When the raw materials are available at low price, they are procured for in bulk quantities to get greater margin of profit in finished goods. This is suitable in case of goods involving major fluctuations. As purchasing is done in lot, distribution cost is less. Production will be continuous. Bargaining power will be more due to bulk purchases. Disadvantages. Large space is required. If the market topples, there is a big loss. Capital requirement is more. Speculative purchasing. In this method, purchases are made not according to requirement, but they are made with a view that there will be greater demand for the product in future. Purchases are made in excess of actual requirements. This is not a scientific method. Advantages. Profits will be more if demand increases. Production will be continuous. Disadvantages. More capital is required, more storage space is required. The speculation goes wrong with the profit on the finished product is reduced. Contract purchasing. Contracts are given to suppliers for large amounts of future requirements for a certain period, say 2 to 3 years, subject to review and cancellation with an appropriate period of notice. So, while calling quotations, the approximate quantity and time are specified. So, many concerns that use large quantities of basic materials such as pig iron, coal, coke have found it very desirable to contract for the entire supply of such materials for a considerable period of time. Advantages. It avoids necessity for keeping of stocks. Purchase is not affected by market fluctuations, and the supply ensured. No time is needed to be washed in calling quotations. And finally, the purchases. Normally, during the period of contract, there is no change in price rate. The purchase department is relieved from the routine work. Disadvantages. The supply may not be regular as it is out of control of production department. Next comes the central purchase organization. Large industries or certain big government industries may have section-wise stores at different levels, and each station may have a separate store. In such case, there arises a problem as to whether each store should have its own purchases or whether purchases should be made by the central stores that would go on supplying material to section-wise stores. If the local sectional stores are allowed to make its own purchases, the material may be getting very soon, but it may sometimes lead to malpractice. Hence, to avoid margin of middleman, Central Purchase Organization makes the direct dealings with the manufacturers and distributes the material to section-wise stores. What are the advantages are? A strict control and check is possible. Therefore, there will be little chance of malpractice. It can have direct dealings with the manufacturer. When the central stores make a purchase, it is on a large scale. Naturally, it can obtain a good bargain and things will be cheaper. Disadvantages, there may be delay in getting the materials from central stores to the sectional stores. Purchasing procedure. For an industry, the following purchasing procedure is generally adopted. After receiving the purchase requisition form, exact quantity of the material to be purchased and its specification is decided. Prepare a list of suppliers who deal with the business of the articles to be purchased and are reliable. The material to be purchased is a small amount and required urgently may be purchased locally. If required, if necessary, prepare and issue an ID notice inviting tenders to the concerning supplier mentioning different terms, conditions, and time of operating tenders. Open the tenders at the prescribed time on the prescribed date. Prepare a comparative statement of the rates, terms, and conditions mentioned in the tenders and then study them. If required, samples may be received from the firm who have quoted the lowest rates. Place the purchase order to the firm selected after the study of sample rates, terms, and other conditions, mentioning the date by which the material must be received. Copy of purchase order must be sent to the stores, the department who has sent the requisition account section, and to the inspection department. A detailed inspection is carried out after the material is received. If the material is found to be satisfactory, the bill of supplier is passed and then the payment is made. So, with this, I conclude for this day. Tomorrow, I just want to introduce you what are the purchase records, what are the records to be maintained by a purchase department. In detail, I will be seeing about all the purchase records, purchase requisitions, purchase inquiry, suppliers quotations, comparative statement, purchase order, bills or invoice. This is all I'll be sharing you in detail. So that's all for this day. Thank you.